Hey, it's Jay. Welcome back to my channel. Today I'm going to be sharing some of my favorite middle grade series with y'all. I have 6 to share and in no particular order. Let's get into it. So City of Ember follows this girl named Lena, or as the audiobook narrator pronounced it, Lina, and she is in a graduating class and she is about to learn her job. And she gets pipeworks operator, but she doesn't like to be underground. She likes to run and be out with people and stuff, and so she proposes that she trade Messenger with Dune Harrow, who actually wants to work in the generator, which powers the city, but settles for pipeworks because at least it's in the same underground area. The city has been around for about 250 years, or about 2.5 times the time it should have been around for, and the city is basically dying. So Lina and Dune have to figure out how to either fix the city or how to find another place where everyone can go and live. So this was my first introduction to dystopian, and it holds a dear place in my heart, but I also like the world building, I like the characters, and then I love the situation which they're in. Dystopian, but it's a 4-book series, and the second book is a sequel, the third book is a prequel, which I love. The audiobooks of the series are amazing, and the 4th book is another sequel, but it's just, if you haven't read a lot of middle grade dystopian, definitely check this out. The next book is Skullduggery Pleasant by Derek Landy. I hate this cover. This is not the cover that I originally saw, and it's also a different title but the same book. This is about a girl named Stephanie who is at the will reading of her uncle who died. He was a famous writer, and he gives her everything, like the royalties to his books, his property, and basically everything she could ever want or need as a 12-year-old in the future. But she gets thrown into this magical world that she is very open to because she has a very normal life that she doesn't like. But her mentor is a skeleton detective, and I think this is middle grade because it says ages 10 and up, and I was introduced to this book when I was a 4th or 5th grader. So, but some of the later books, there's like 9 books in the series, some of the later books are more like young adult, but I'm counting it as middle grade. But there's amazing world building. I love Skullduggery Pleasant, and I just love all the magical artifacts in here. And if you like mystery, fun, adventure, humor, Scottish accents in the audiobook, then definitely check this series out. Next one was one that I was recommended to read by my 5th grade reading and writing teacher, and Brody likes this series, and I didn't know anyone else on BookTube who likes this series, but I found that they like this series, and it's just like, bless. And that is Fable Haven by Brandon Mull. This is about brother-sister duo, Seth and Kendra, who are forced to stay with their grandparents during the summer while their parents go on a cruise for their maternal grandparents who died. Their last wish was for all their children and their spouses to go on a cruise in their honor. And so Kendra and Seth are forced to stay with their paternal grandparents, just their grandpa, because their grandma is missing. And they discover that where their grandparents are living is actually a magical animal reserve. And they learn a whole bunch about magic and magic animals and creatures. They get a whole bunch of mischief, and it's just so good. The world building, the characters, everything is amazing. And there's 5 books in the series, and there's also a spin-off series with the same characters that takes place shortly after the 5th book ends, which is 2 books in, which I need to read the 2nd book. But this is one of the best books I have ever read, like, ever. The next book is another book that my 3rd grade reading and writing teacher read to us, and that is Gregor the Overlander by Suzanne Collins. Yes, Hunger Games Suzanne Collins. This was a series she wrote before the Hunger Games, and I love it. This is about this boy named Gregor who's very poor, lives in New York. He has 2 sisters, a grandma, and a mother, and a few years ago, his father went missing and they never found out where he went or how he disappeared. But one day he and his baby sister Boots are in the laundromat and she falls down this... She seemingly goes into one of the dryers and he like goes looking for her, but it turns out that she actually fell down into a hole down to the Underland, which is where there's this society of people that live, but also a whole bunch of creatures that are huge, like human size. Like bats are like 6 feet tall, roaches are like 4 feet tall, the rats are gigantic, everything, and they all speak English. Anyway, and Gregor and his sister, along with some other creatures, follow this prophecy so that they can go in search of Gregor's father. And it's really interesting. The prophecies are so good. The world building is so good. It's a 5-book series, and it's one of my favorite series ever. And it's just... It's a lot of charm. My penultimate favorite middle grade series, I don't know if this is more... Well, it says 10 up, so I'm guessing it's... Like, I don't know if this is more kids book or middle grade book, but Series of Unfortunate Events by Lemony Snicket. This is a favorite among a lot of people, I think. It's about these orphans who, or they weren't orphans in the beginning, obviously, but Violet, Klaus, and Sonia Baudelaire are on the beach one day when their parents' financial advisor, or whatever Mr. Poe is, walks up to them and says, "I'm sorry, children, but your parents have perished in an unfortunate fire that consumed your whole mansion and both of your parents. You are now orphans." And they're like, oh shit. And so in the 13-book series, they go from guardian to guardian, some good, some really bad, like Count Olaf in the first one. And throughout the series, Count Olaf tries to get to the Baudelaire fortune. And even though each book is like kind of the same story over and over again, where they get this new guardian, they have to go through this unfortunate thing happens to their guardian, Count Olaf comes in with a disguise, pretending to be someone else, none of the adults believe them, they have to figure out what to do and how to save themselves. But the way each one is delivered is amazing, and Violet is one of the first like strong female characters I ever read, and Klaus was my first literary crush. So... And my last favorite middle grade book series, of course, is Percy Jackson and Olympians by Rick Riordan. I don't know who doesn't know about this. A lot of people are raving about the Lightning Thief musical right now, and we love to diss the 2 movies, but this is about a boy who lives with his mom and stepdad, and he has always had like a lot of weird stuff happen to him, and he discovers that he is a demigod. And so his best friend Grover, who was actually a satyr in disguise, takes him to this camp, and he learns about being a demigod, and he goes on this quest to save his mom, who was taken by, oh god, what was it, not a cyclops? By a minotaur. And it's just amazing, and there's 2 spin-off series of this, Heroes of Olympus and Trials of Apollo, which there's 3 books in right now. Each series has 5 books, and especially in Heroes of Olympus, there's a lot of diverse characters, which is really appreciated. I read the first book when I was going into 9th grade, and it was the funniest thing I'd ever read. And Percy is my bae, but I ship Percabeth so hard it doesn't even matter that I love Percy, because I love them even. So yeah, those are my favorite middle grade series. I don't know if a lot of that was coherent, but hopefully it was coherent enough to get a gist of what they're about and why they're so good. If you like this video, give it a thumbs up, and don't forget to hit subscribe and ring the little bell to get notified whenever I upload. I upload every Wednesday and occasionally Saturdays. Tell me down in the comments if you've read any of the series that I talked about here, especially like the ones that aren't as popular as Series of Unfortunate Events or Percy Jackson, because I would love to talk about them with you. And I'll see you in the next video. Thanks for watching.